views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCNTV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCNTV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCNTV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCNTV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
As we have talked about earlier, our brain often makes decisions on poor and even false logic. Our brain often behaves like a terrible scientist with a blind, rock-solid belief in his own findings and predictions. Cognitive therapists have found that our brains come up with similar false facts and errors in thinking that, if left unattended, can start to eat away at our self-esteem and get in the way of us reaching our goals and building healthy relationships. A negative experience, lack of support, an overwhelming challenge or a loss in a person's life, for instance, can contribute to the brain creating errors or cognitive biases in our thinking. It's important to note that biases are present in most people and can also arise after positive experiences.
Welcome. So as you guys can see, I'm by myself today because the one Dave Rankin is ill. And I feel bad because it's my fault that he's sick. I got very sick this weekend and he spent all weekend taking care of me. And the conclusion of all that was him being sick, so he could not come to the show today. So that left me with some choices and some options for our show. Another big disappointment was we were supposed to have the president of Carifica here today, but our prayers go out to him because his wife is in the hospital, so he could not come. So there's two major things that have kind of happened. So that kind of left me with like, what am I going to do today? Because I myself am not 100% well. So I fell back on something that comes easy to me, something that I specialize in, and that is the mind, the human mind. So today, my show is called My Mind is Playing Tricks on Me, and we're going to be talking about the world of cognitive distortions. Now, I don't want you to worry about the title itself, but I want you to understand before we go any further that all of us have maladaptive thought patterns that we don't even recognize, and sometimes these maladaptive thought patterns will end up ruling our lives. So today, I actually pulled a few of them out that I have, personally dealt with, I've seen, and that are sometimes a little bit more popular. And I'm going to present them to you guys at the very end in our last segment. What I'm actually going to do is tie it all up by giving you guys some tips on how to deal with cognitive distortions, because they're very, very important, especially during this time of the year. Excuse me. And excuse that. That's going to be happening the whole show. It's important at this time of the year because January, February is a very tough time for people who have mental health disorders. February, I believe, is Mental Health Month, isn't it? Yeah, guys? Yeah, that's what I thought. So I thought this would be a good time to introduce some of the distortions and see how these can kind of lead to things like depression and anxiety. So in 1976, a psychologist by the name of Aaron Beck first proposed the theory behind cognitive distortions. And then in 1980, David Burns was responsible for popularizing it with common names and examples. So the names they're given, again, these are just names that they came up with. You can call them what they want, whatever you want. These just make sense for what some of the distortions are. So let's jump right in and start talking about some of them. So the very first one is filtering. So with filtering, a person engaging in filtering or mental filtering takes the negative details and magnifies, like you see in this picture, how there's only a little bit of sun, but that big part of the brain is all gloomy. That's what filtering looks like for someone who's dealing with this cognitive distortion. So they literally filter out all the positive and only focus on the negative. So for instance, a person may pick out a single unpleasant detail and dwell on it exclusively so that their vision of reality becomes darkened or distorted. When a cognitive filter is applied, the person sees only the negative and ignores anything that is positive. Now, this can also be used in a very useful way, and I'm going to provide a very quick example. When I was actually getting out of a relationship with someone I was in, it was a very toxic relationship, I actually got this advice from one of my friends. What sometimes we do in relationship is we romanticize things and we only focus on the positive of them, and that's why sometimes we'll stay in relationships. So my friend actually suggested to me, Simone, why don't you focus on the negative to get out of this relationship? So that's what I did. I started to focus on the negative, and it actually helped me to realize that I shouldn't be in something like this because, yes, it may seem all nice and pretty, but when I really looked at it, the relationship was not good for me. So sometimes filtering can be good if it's used tactfully, but it's not always used tactfully. So it's something to be mindful of. Another one is catastrophizing. So this is when you expect disaster to strike no matter what. This is also referred to as magnifying. You ask questions like, what if tragedy strikes? What if it happens to me? To imagine the absolute worst occurring. So an example of that, you might exaggerate the importance of insignificant events, such as a mistake that you have made or someone else's achievement. So it could be either way. Sometimes people even look at things like, for example, someone just told me the Chinese flu is going around. So I sat here thinking, did I get the Chinese flu? That's catastrophizing. Simone, you didn't get no Chinese flu. You just got the flu that everyone else got. But as soon as I heard Chinese flu, I thought it was me. No, it's not me. But that's an example of how sometimes we can take something and just make it really, really big. Okay? My last example for this segment is called blaming. So blaming is when you hold other people other people responsible for your emotional pain. You may also take the opposite track and instead blame yourself for every problem, even those clearly outside of your control. So an example of this, stop making me feel bad about myself. You always make me mad. So I have students, so I hear this a lot from little kids, and it's very surprising that this stuff carries on to adulthood because I hear adults doing it too. And I always ask, are you telling me that you have no control over your emotions? You actually give someone control over who you are and how you feel? I've always wondered about that. When you blame someone else for how you feel, when you are the one who's in control of how you're feeling. Nobody can make you do anything. You are in control of you. When you give up that power, it's called blaming. So those are the first three. We've done, let's see, the first three are filtering, catastrophizing, and blaming. Something I'm going to recommend everyone to do right now, before we go into the next segment, is grab a piece of paper, grab a pencil. If you want to use your phone to take notes, that's fine. But as we're going through these different cognitive distortions, I want you to take into consideration which one of these actually apply to you. Because there might be some here that you don't ever realize you're doing until you hear it, and then you're like, oh shoot, that's actually me. So when we come back, we're actually going to go into three more. They're going to be polarized thinking, black or white thinking, Personalization, shoulds, which I hear a lot, I should have, and always being right. We'll see you soon on Here to Help You.
World-famous spiritual astrologer and psychic Pandit Sai is born to serve people. He's an expert on palmistry and horoscope. He can handle all problems and give Vedic solutions for business, job, love, marriage, husband and wife problems, children, personal, and many others, including depression. He also performs pujas to clear all sorts of obstacles. Call Pandit Sai and see changes in your life now. 647-766-1419. Located at 2895 Derry Road, East Mississauga, Airport Road and Derry.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. So, if you're just joining, I was actually just asking the girls in the room with me which one they all kind of felt they did, and everyone was consistent with catastrophizing. So that's something that I think a lot of people do. Let's keep moving forward with this, and let's go on to our next one, which is polarized thinking or black and white thinking. So in polarized thinking, things are either black or white, all or nothing. We have to be perfect or we're complete and an abject failure. There is absolutely no middle ground. A person with polarized thinking places people or situations in either or categories, with no shades of gray or allowing for the complexity of most people and most situations. A person with black and white thinking sees things only in extremes. So when we're thinking black and white thinking, I think it's actually a pretty cool title, because when I first thought of this or saw this, the first thing that came to my mind was racists and bigots, any type of ists, because those are people who kind of categorize people and judge people based on these things. And there's no openness, there's no open-mindedness. It's one or the other, either or. So you can see why that would kind of be an issue, and why people who have this issue may have an actual huge problem, and why this is actually one of the biggest problems we have in our world, this whole black and white thinking. Let's move on to our next one, which is personalization. So this one is interesting. So personalization is a distortion where you believe that everything others do or say is in some kind of way direct or a personal reflection of you. So you literally take everything personally, even when something is not meant in that way. A person who experiences this kind of thinking will also compare themselves to others, trying to determine who is smarter, better looking, etc. So if you remember when we did the 4 agreements, one of the 4 agreements was not to take anything personally. So that's the exact agreement that goes towards this, the personalization one. You can't take everything personally. It's not always about you. There's some people who think it is, but it's not. This is distortion. It is a distortion. You've got to see it as that. We're going to go on to our next one, which is shoulds. I love the shoulds. So, should statements. I should pick up after myself more. These are a list of ironclad rules about how every person should behave. People who break the rules make a person following these rules actually very angry. So people who abide by these whole should rules, if someone else goes against these rules, they get literally pissed off about it. They don't like the fact that not only are they not allowed to break the rules, but you're not allowed to break the rules either, or you're going against this, again, list that they've made up in their mind that you should not do. So what are some examples? Okay, so I think of it. Okay, so you shouldn't wear white after Labor Day. Why not? My dad wears white all year round. He doesn't apply shoulds to his life. But that's a rule that came out. I don't know where it came from, but You shouldn't wear white after Labor Day. You shouldn't, oh, a Jamaican one, you shouldn't eat bananas at night. Does anyone else know about that one? Yes, see, you shouldn't eat bananas late at night. It's going to give you gas. You shouldn't eat anything heavy before dinner. You're going to dream all type of stupid dreams. These are the type of things that they don't make no sense, but we just believe that they're true, so we abide by them, even though it's not true. Cognitive distortion. All right, so people who do go by these shoulds usually feel guilty when they violate their own rules. So you have to be very mindful of this because it's putting a lot of pressure on yourself. I should go to the gym. I should not be eating this. Stop it. Stop with the shoulds. You're going to should yourself out of a lot of things. So don't do that. Okay, no more shoulds. When I talk about this in the fourth segment, we're going to talk about ways we can actually combat that whole should thing. Okay? So a reminder. The emotional consequence is guilt. When a person directs should statements towards others, they often feel anger, frustration, and resentment. So these are things that come up with these distortions. They also rile up a lot of emotions. So we should be aware of this when we're putting out these should statements, okay? Oh, Lord. Okay, our last one for this segment is always being right. I know right now, before I even go into this, that all of us can at least point out one person in our lives who we're going to be like, yes, this is their cognitive distortion. They always think they're right. They're so righteous. Let me read it first, though, so you guys can know exactly what it is. So, you are continually putting other people on trial to prove that your own opinions and actions are the absolute correct ones. To a person engaging in always being right, being wrong is unthinkable. You'll go to any length to demonstrate your rightness. Being right is often more important than the feelings of others around a person who engages in this cognitive distortion, even loved ones. So people who have this type of distortion have to understand how much they alienate others when they act like this. I know a lot of people, I'm not calling no names because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not going to call out anyone's cognitive distortions. This is for you to realize and write down and take note of. But I see this in a lot of leaders in our community. It's always being right. It also can be put along with ego. I think always being right and ego kind of go hand in hand. So it's something you should consider. Again, these may not be things that you really identify in yourself, but today is the day to start doing so because you don't even realize how not only may you be alienating yourself, you might be alienating others. When we get back, we're going to go through a few more. So we're going to tap on overgeneralization, the fallacy of fairness, jumping to conclusions, and emotional reasoning. We'll see you soon on Here to Help You.
Yo, this is Conscience and you're watching MyTCNTV network. Peace.
Welcome back, everybody. So if you're just joining us, we've done 2 segments already where we've discussed cognitive distortions, which we discussed are ways of thinking that are not very productive for us. So this is a very quick lecture on different types of cognitive distortions that we may experience and how they may actually be affecting our lives. So let's go do a quick review of what we've done so far. And of course, please feel free to go back to the first two segments to take a look at them. So we did filtering, catastrophizing, blaming, black and white, thinking, personalization, shoulds, and always being right. The first one we're going to discuss in this segment is overgeneralization. So, overgeneralization is when a person comes to a general conclusion based on one single incident or a single piece of evidence. If something bad happens just once, they expect it to happen over and over again. A person may see a single unpleasant event as being part of a never-ending pattern of defeat. So a student gets a poor grade, and here's an example. A student gets a poor grade on one paper in one semester. They conclude they are a horrible student and they quit school. Now, of course, that's a little extreme, but you'd be surprised at how many people actually do this. So overgeneralization, taking something small, is almost like catastrophizing, making it bigger than it is. Okay? The fallacy of fairness. So, it's not fair. You feel resentful because you think that you know what is fair, but other people won't agree with you. You go through life applying a measuring ruler against every situation, judging its fairness. This will often leave you feeling resentful, angry, and even a little bit of hopelessness because of it. Because life isn't fair. Things will not always work out in your favor, even when they should. So you will see this with a lot of people who are the victims. They may not have been grown in the right area. They may not have had, maybe two parents, may have been born in single parent families. They may not have been given a fair advantage in school. All of these things, and they become the victim. And they stay in this victim role. And it's all about it not being fair. That is the fallacy of fairness. Unfortunately, life is not fair. That's just life. But to dwell on it and to build your whole life on the fact that life isn't fair and measuring everything up to this fairness, cognitive distortion. Next, jumping to conclusions. Without individuals actually saying so, a person who jumps to conclusion knows what another person is feeling and thinking, and exactly why they act the way that they do. In particular, a person is able to determine how others are feeling toward the person, as though they could read their minds. Jumping to conclusions can also manifest itself as fortune telling, where a person believes their entire future is preordained, whether it be school, work, or romantic relationship. So, it's believing that you know everything and that you can judge something before it even happens. Jumping to conclusions. An example of this. You may conclude that someone is holding a grudge against you, but you don't actually bother to find out if you're accurate. How often has it happened to you where you think someone doesn't like you, you don't know for sure, you just assume that they don't, and you jump to that conclusion, and now you have this thought in your mind, and whenever you see the person, that thought plays in your mind, and it gets bigger and bigger. You can see how this can be a problem, especially if you're doing this with more than one person. This is how isolation happens. It happens very subtly, but it can happen very quickly. Our very last one for this segment is emotional reasoning. So the distortion of emotional reasoning can be summed up by the statement, if I feel that way, then it must be true. Whatever a person is feeling is believed to be true, automatically and unconditionally. If a person feels stupid and boring, then they must, of course, be stupid and boring. But that's not the case. This is emotional reasoning. You're reasoning with your emotions about how you think. Just because you feel everyone has a bad day. Everyone makes stupid decisions. Everyone does silly things sometimes. It doesn't mean that that's what you are. It's just a one-off. These things happen. Now, emotional reasoning is when your emotions take over your thinking entirely, blotting out all rational and logic. So, the person who engages in emotional reasoning assumes that their unhealthy emotions reflect the way things are. I feel it, therefore it must be true. There it is. Emotions distort reality. Your emotions are very, very powerful. If you're not careful, they will distort how you actually look at things. So these are the ones that I've presented. Let me go over them one more time before we go into our final segment. So, hope you have your pens and papers out. Let's go over these one more time. We have filtering, catastrophizing, blaming, polarized thinking, black and white thinking, personalization, shoulds, the shoulds, being right, overgeneralization, fallacy of fairness, jumping to conclusion, and emotional reasoning. When we do come back, what we're going to do is actually break down how we can stop some of these cognitive distortions in their tracks. It takes a lot. It actually goes into the realm of cognitive behavioral therapy. This is usually what therapists will do with you to stop some of these thoughts. I'm going to give you guys a few things that you can actually try at home on your own. But of course, nothing is better than getting professional help, depending, of course, how far into some of these distortions that you are in and how much they're affecting your life. So when we get back, we'll look at identifying the cognitive distortions and actually stopping them in their tracks. I'm here to help you.
My name is Trish Curling, and I am an online coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher, and your new host of Shaping Life, which is all about understanding that we have the ability and the control to take charge of our health and wellness. But we can't do it alone, and I can't wait to sit down with the best in the industry. Please tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. live here on the TCN Network.
Come in, it's okay. Hi, guys. Sorry, my earring dropped out. I have to fix it. So welcome back. I hope you guys have actually enjoyed the show today. So today was definitely more of a lecture style show. It's very quick. It was to the point, but it's very important that we understand the power of our minds. I've always enjoyed studying the brain. I've always enjoyed studying the mind. It's been my passion since I was 16 years old. I've identified a lot of these in myself. I see how they have caused me pain. I see how they've caused other people pain. And this is why I thought it was important that I brought it to you guys today. So let's talk about how we can kind of stop some of these cognitive distortions in their path. If you're just joining us right now, you can go over the list of distortions that we did before. and take a look at them. And now we're going to actually hone in on what we can do to stop some of this, okay? So the most important step of fixing any problem in your life is identifying exactly what the problem is. So, and seeing, of course, how it works in your life. I believe there's a picture for this, Janelle. An auto mechanic starts with a diagnostic assessment of your car when it has a problem. So we have to start with a diagnostic assessment of your brain to see exactly what's happening. So journaling. And please excuse my hacking. I can't do anything about it. It's just where I am right now. You need to identify and track the cognitive distortions in your daily thinking first before you start working to change them. You do this by creating a list of the troublesome thoughts throughout the day as you are having them. This will allow you to examine them later for matches with a list of cognitive distortions. An examination of your cognitive distortions allows you to see which distortions that you prefer, because we all prefer certain things. Regardless if you may think so or not, your brain's going to prefer certain things. Additionally, this process allows you to think about each problem or predicament, in a more natural or realistic manner. So, very first thing to start doing is identifying what your cognitive distortion is, which is why I told you guys initially to get a pen and paper so you can start writing some of this down. Next is the experimental method. So, can you test whether your irrational thoughts have any basis in fact outside of a trial? You sure can, by using the same kind of methods that science uses in order to test a hypothesis. So, imagine a person who believes over time that she is no longer liked by her friends because they never connect with her on social media or they don't call. Could that person test whether it was true that her friends no longer like her? What if she reached out to them and asked them out to lunch or for drinks one day? While it's not likely all of her friends will accept an invitation, it's likely at least one or two of them will, providing clear evidence in support of the fact that her friends actually still like her. Selena, can you grab me some water, please? I feel like I am dying. All right. So that's the experimental method. It's actually testing out your theories, seeing if they actually are what you think they are. Then there is the survey method. I hope my water comes soon. I'm sorry, guys. The show must go on. Even though I was dying, it was worse yesterday, so you guys should be lucky I'd be coughing on a lung by now. So the survey method is focused on asking others in a similar situation about their experience to determine how irrational our thoughts might be. If you want to double check on the irrationality of your thoughts, check in, thank you so much, Lena. Check in with a few trusted friends to see what their opinions and experiences are. So, an example here would be if you're having a situation in a relationship you might have. Let's just say you're in a new relationship, okay, and you're not too sure about an issue that comes up, or you have an argument and something just doesn't seem right. Instead of you making the decisions in your head, go speak to someone who's been married for a long time, or someone who's been in a relationship for a longer time than you. Get some outside opinions or outside thoughts, more so. I'm going to say thoughts, not opinions, because opinions are just what people think. So outside thoughts more on the topic at hand, and see how that registers with you, instead of, again, staying inside your own head, because staying in your own head is very, very dangerous. Then there's the semantic method. So this one deals specifically with the shoulds. So that should, I should be going to the gym. I should be eating better. So the semantic method. Every time you find yourself using a should statement, try substituting it with it would be nice if instead. This semantic difference can work wonders in your own mind. shoulds make a person feel bad and guilty about themselves. Wouldn't it be nice? And I think it's a little bit it's a healthier way of saying should. Wouldn't it be nice if I started watching what I ate more instead of I should be watching what I ate more or what I eat? I should be. No. Wouldn't it be nice if I worked out a little bit more? Wouldn't it be nice if I took a walk every day? Wouldn't it be nice if I journaled a little bit more? It just sounds better. Semantics. It's also better than just saying should. So try it out. Just try switching your words around to see how that works. Finally, we have examine the evidence. So remove yourself from the emotionality of the upsetting event or episode of irrational thinking in order to examine the evidence more objectively. A thorough examination of an experience allows you to identify the basis for your distorted thoughts. If you are overly self-critical, you should identify a number of experiences and situations where you have had success. Oh, Lord. I made it. I'm done. I did it. And I only started hacking closer to the end of the show. So, guys, I hope you took something from all of this. I really want I want all of us, I want everyone in the community to have optimal mental health. The only way to do that, though, is you have to start examining where you are personally right now. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please leave them. If you're on YouTube, you can leave them in the comment box below. If you're on Facebook, you can do the same thing. Of course, if there's something in here that you saw that you think someone else might enjoy or need to hear, definitely share this out. And of course, just because, you feel sorry for me because I've been hacking and I actually did the show, press like. I did it. Finally did it. And it's over. Thank you guys for tuning in to Here to Help You. Next week, Dave will be back. I won't be hacking. We'll both be in perfect health. And hopefully, so will you guys. We'll see you guys next week on Here to Help You.